Back with breaking news on this Tuesday night. Live look at some of the watch parties in Texas where polls just closed. The outcome of two primary elections will tell us exactly where the political parties are headed in the midterms. The Democratic Party right now is going through a Tea Party-like revolution, and Texas provides the perfect test case. Two progressives, a firebrand Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, known for her foul-mouthed, Trump-hating rhetoric, up against the Texas golden boy, James Talrico, Christian Democrat trying to pull the party back to the center. Their fight will define what Democrat means in 2026. GOP side, it's just as intense and a little more personal. Scandal-plagued, MAGA-loved Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, indicted and unapologetic, is gunning for Senator John Cornyn, the ultimate D.C. insider. And in this race, nothing is sacred.
Crooked Ken Paxton cheated on his wife. She's divorcing him on biblical grounds.
John Cornyn of Texas told CBS News he simply doesn't think Donald Trump can get elected president.
Paxton's wrecking another home, sleeping around with a married mother of 7.
Now, Ken Paxton is running for Senate to stand with President Trump and help him make America great again.
The wife cheater and fraud, or the Texas workhorse?
With us now, Mark McKinnon, creator and executive producer of The Circus on Showtime, Kendall Scudder, chairman of the Texas Democratic Party. Good to see you, gentlemen, both of you. Kendall, I'm going to start with you just because I think the Democratic primary is a little more interesting politically in a way for the Democrats. What is a Democrat in 2026?
A Democrat is a person that will take on whatever billionaire, whatever banker, whatever bootlicking bastard we have to make sure the little guy gets his seat at the table.
So you put Paxton and Cornyn in that same, all those adjectives apply?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, I see where this is going. Mark, putting Kendall's adjectives aside here for a second, we've seen this before that Trump kind of enjoys these primary fights. Is that for Republicans that have to defend in Texas? Is that purifying or petrifying for what is going to be one of the most expensive midterm Senate races the country's ever seen?
Well, you're right, Leland, and both these races really represent the challenges for both parties. On the Republican side, we have a heated contested primary against a guy, John Cornyn, who, if he were uncontested, would win this thing by 20 points in a walk. But he is not MAGA enough for the pure MAGA loyalists who prefer somebody like Paxton, who was the tip of the spear in the January 6th litigation, leading it as the Texas Attorney General. And then, of course, you've got a congressman from Houston that's going to throw it into a runoff almost certainly. So the bad news for Republicans is that either way this goes, they're going to have to spend a lot of money that they wouldn't otherwise have to spend just to get through a primary that when there should have been a walk for Republicans. And then, of course, given the outcome, it could become very problematic in the general election.
Kendall, fair to say you guys would a lot rather run against Ken Paxton than John Cornyn, right?
I mean, I don't think it matters who we want to run against. We're going to be running against Ken Paxton. Runoffs in Texas are where Republican incumbents go to die. So John Cornyn's going to make it into this runoff, and he's not going to survive it in May. That's just, I think it's like 95% of Republican incumbents that go to runoffs don't make it out. So John Cornyn can enjoy his ride to the runoff. We're going to be running against Ken Paxton in November.
Okay, so who has a better chance against Ken Paxton, though, in November, Crockett or Talrico?
Well, you know, as the administrator of the primary, I don't pick sides in that, but I will tell you that I think that both of them have different strategies.
Kendall, I got a better answer for you. Whoever wins tonight.
There you go. That is what I should have said. You're hired.
Mark? Live results going in. James Talrico now leading by 8 points. The betting markets had Talrico at about 85%. So Crockett would have to have a major upset. Sufficing to say, Democrats would a lot rather have James Talrico, correct?
No question about it. Listen, they're both extremely talented candidates, but Talrico has a much more sort of moderate centrist approach and has a strategy where he thinks he should actually try and appeal to independent voters and soft Trump voters. Crockett says she doesn't even want to try and do that. So in Texas, you've got to have those independents. You've got to get some of the soft Trump voters to win in Texas, or you're not going to win in the general election. So I think that Tallarico is going to be a much better candidate. He's a once-in-a-generation candidate. I love how he has embraced values in the Bible in a way that Democrats haven't in a long time. I think it's going to be a really interesting race to watch.
Okay, we're going to play real quickly Tallarico versus Crockett because it's pretty interesting, the two versions of these Democratic candidates.
I think of politics now less as left versus right and much more as top versus bottom.
The most unpatriotic people that we have in this country are MAGA and this president.
We are, I think, trying to build a movement that includes Democrats, independents, and Republicans.
I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler.
Our nation is so divided that we can't even share the Super Bowl anymore.
Texas is racist.
Kendall, how are Democrats going to win the center if the candidates, the loudest voices in the room, the people raising the most money and getting the most hits on cable news, are the ones calling the people in the middle racist and unpatriotic and un-American?
Look, the argument that you will hear from Congresswoman Crockett's camp, and I think it's a fair argument, is that Texas is 47th in the country in voter turnout. And there were 1.1 million Democrats who voted in 2020 that stayed home in 24. And so what those people want are Democrats that aren't going to negotiate away the things that are important to them. And that perhaps driving out our base to actually show up and turn out to vote could put us in a good spot. And here we are outvoting Republicans in a primary in Texas, which no one thought was possible. So the one who wins today is going to be the one who is best at turning voters out. And that's going to bode well for us in November.
All right, live results now for Paxton and Cornyn. DDHQ will have the call when they are able to. They got to get over, one of these two guys has to get over 50% or it goes to a runoff. Mark, I will leave you with this. Is it possible, would you be willing to say possible, that if it is Tallarico, Ken Paxton, which is I think what Kendall is hoping for, that the tens of millions of dollars that will be spent by Democrats to try to turn Texas blue might be worth it?
Listen, I'm the guy I worked for the last Democratic statewide official who won. That was Ann Richards, and that was 35 years ago. So I'm always pushing back against the narrative that, oh, this time it's going to happen, this time it's going to happen. This time it could happen. A perfect storm is lining up. If it's Tallarico versus Paxton, I think there's a real shot. Because remember, it wasn't long ago that Beto O'Rourke almost beat Ted Cruz. He came within 2 or 3 points. And I think Tallarico will be an even better candidate. I think he's learned those lessons. I think Paxton is even less popular than Ted Cruz.
Yeah, well said, especially about Tallarico. Certainly not as divisive, at least when you listen to him, maybe when you dig deeper, but in terms of talent than Beto. Mark, Kendall, thank you both very much. Here we go.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.